having a Q&A session about the AP schedule. And so our high school principals are here. Our Chief Academic Officer, Mr. Greg Sutton, is here, and Mrs. Morgan is back here, and she'll come up here when she has something to add, or if she has a question. We have a question from her. So I guess the biggest question that a lot of folks have is about why just high schools? Why not middle and elementary schools? Mr. Sutton, you answered that question very eloquently the first time. Could you do it again if you don't mind?
Sure, I'll try my best. I guess what I want people to understand is that this was a student-based decision. Every level that we looked at was based on what was best for the students. When we started looking at the amount of students in the online academy at the high school level, and we started looking at pulling teachers from schools to teach those students, and what we found out there just was not enough teachers to help them get their full complement of courses that they needed for AP, dual credit, graduation requirements, their EC3, their pathways. And so really we just felt like that, high school students, their maturity, they're more prepared through their educational experiences at that age to handle, an intermittent more instructional opportunities. So that's why we made the decision we did. Middle school, our non-traditional instruction data from the spring kind of showed that they struggled in unsupervised situations. They struggled not having consistency of that being daily with the teacher, with work completion. Elementary school, we talked about the importance of foundational skills. Talking those basic reading and math skills, they need that consistency every day with an in-person teacher. So it was basically just a student-based decision at each level is why we chose in-person for elementary school, in-person for middle school, and then more of an intermittent AB schedule for our mature high school students that needed to focus on those graduation requirements.
Also, another question we had, and I guess this is primarily for the principals, was about when will we know what group, either A or B, my student is in, and then also how will that be determined? So, Ms. Gordon, we'll start with you.
Okay, at North Hardin, we are looking to divide our two groups by the alphabet. And by looking at those numbers right now, currently, there's a good break in between one group being last name A through K, and the other group being last name L through Z. We will consider families and households who have siblings in the house, maybe with different last names, and we'll treat that on a case-by-case basis. They can contact the school. If you want both of your students to attend the same day, that's fine. If you would like them to be separated, we will work with you. And we hope to have that all communicated with our families by August 17th.
Well, that's the same for us at John Hardin. We want to give our families until July 31st to contact us to let us know if there's been a change. We've already had several calls this morning, changing from online to in-class. And we want to give our families a chance to do that so that we can give our counselors accurate numbers to work with. And that way we'll get our classes balanced out evenly, hopefully provide more opportunities for social distancing within the classroom.
We agree, and I think that's an important point, is we tried to collaborate among the three high schools so that we can learn from each other, work together, make life easier for Mr. Robbins at EC3 since we're all sharing, he's got to deal with all three campuses. So it's important that we align as much as possible. Where that alphabet break is, we're still determining. We took a hard look at numbers today, and right now we feel real good about the balance because we are working towards a social distance application and what that gives us. So we hope to have that information then as soon as we possibly can.
Yeah. At EC3, we will not be splitting up any of the alphabet. We will take guidance from North, John, and Central, and when they tell us this group is A, then that's group A for us. And they say this group is B, that's group B for us. So we won't be splitting up anything at EC3. We will take your calls, but understand that call will have to go through the home high school. And so if they want to communicate with us, trust me, we're in constant communication with each other, so we can take your call as well. We want people to understand that we are doing everything possible to make sure that EC3 continues to be a part of their educational opportunity in Hardin County schools.
And Dr. King, you're going 4 days a week. Talk about that.
Yes, the AB schedule, of course, only affects our high school students. The elementary and middle school students at College View will be going 5 days a week. The high school students, if they do well during the week and they don't need additional help with homework or academics or social emotional skills, they will have Wednesday off. and that will be decided the Friday prior to that Wednesday. So basically, they're going Monday, Tuesday. If they have a good week, and they're getting all their homework done, they're making good progress, they don't need help with credit recovery and tutoring help on academics, they get that Wednesday off for independent practice at home, and then they're back to school on Thursday and Friday.
The one thing we do want to let our schools know, of course, we have other departments we have to work with, one of those being transportation. And so if we have students who live out in an area that there are very few students, we will be grouping those students together. So there will be exceptions to the alphabet. Again, we ask for your flexibility and understanding as we proceed with this. We have many working parts. So I just want to make sure families know it may not be as cut as dried as A through K and then the rest of the alphabet. So just, again, please keep that in mind, that we will be working closely with transportation.
Okay, good deal. Another question, another big question we are getting, I guess, Mr. Robbins, is for you, is the more generic question, more broad question, but what about EC3? How does the AB schedule affect things at EC3?
Right, and so early on in the conversation, even prior to the AB schedule being fully accepted, we had students and parents asking, could students that were choosing the Online Learning Academy still participate in EC3? And we wanted, again, to make sure that kids and parents had those opportunities. And so we decided long ago that no matter what, even if a student was on the Online Learning Academy, they could still attend EC3. The question becomes the transportation regarding that. So if a student comes to EC3 in the morning and they are Online Learning Academy, that student can then travel to their home high school, however they normally get there, make the change for buses to get on the bus for EC3, come to EC3. When that class is over at EC3, a parent, guardian, someone will need to pick that student up from EC3. We will not transport them back to the home high school to wait, in a sense, for someone to pick them up. Again, you know, our goal is to limit contact in all matters, so we would be doing that. And so we can house them in EC3. We'll have a secure location for that student until someone can pick them up, but we hope that it is very close to the ending class time. And then it would be the same as that as for the afternoon. If a student was with us in the afternoon, then they would need to be transported by parent or guardian to us for the afternoon session, and then they could ride Hardin County Schools transportation home, back to the home high school and then home from there. So we look forward, again, to working those issues out. Just give us a call if you have questions regarding that. I know that people may not fully understand that, but we want to make it work for them. So please just reach out to us.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Robbins. Another questions we are getting about special education. How will IEPs, and I know that's probably, those are probably more specific to each student, but is there anyone that can give a broad stroke answer to that? Is how will special education be handled with just a 2-day-a-week in-class schedule?
Well, I think that's one of the important aspects. We looked at this as we looked at the 2 days and where we're making the break. I think one of the advantages to that Wednesday day where not all students will be required to get in is that's going to provide us an opportunity to do intervention for our at-risk students. Under one of the other options we looked at, which was our students would sit in the same class for 3.5 hours and then go to one other class a day, it was going to make intervention time virtually impossible. And those at-risk students are crucial, that we're getting them what they need. So the Wednesday time is going to allow us an opportunity to identify that kid who is struggling, whether they have an IEP or not, and bring them in. And we've already worked with Mr. Corder at the bus garage, making sure that we can provide transportation on those days. And so on a Friday, we identify kids that we're going to need to give some extra attention to, some extra time, and we bring them in on Wednesday where we can focus on them and give them some more individual one-on-one. So there's going to be plenty of times where your child may be at school 3 days a week. And we're hoping to build in a component and to where a parent could actually reach out and say, hey, I really think my child is struggling in this class. Can you make sure they get some extra time? So it will be a very collaborative process.
But students with an IEP, their co-taught setting, their resource setting, if they have OT, PT, all those services will still be met for those students within the online academy and in-person instruction
Okay.
within this AP schedule.
Okay. Also, what will students be doing? For example, if a student is on a Tuesday, Friday schedule, what will they be doing on Monday and you know, the days that they're not in school, they're not in the building? That's a big question we're getting as well.
They will be expected to do schoolwork while they're at home. It's not that they're just having school 2 days a week. They're having school all week. It's just part of that time would be direct instruction and having that time with the teacher. And the other time at home could be practice problems. It could be research. It could be studying for a test. It could be some reading. It could be some virtual group work. There are a lot of ideas and a lot of things that they can continue from what they learned in the classroom at home.
Okay. Mr. Wells?
Yeah, I can echo the same thing. You know, I think it's important for families and students to understand that teachers are not going to be able to give NTI-style direct instruction while students are home because they're in class with their second group. But there will be work that they're expected to do while they're off on those days.
Right. I guess that's the biggest question. You know, some folks have kind of asked the question, will they be doing NTI work when they're off? That's probably not a fair statement. They're going to be doing research projects, homework, studying, things like that.
I guess that's why we don't use the term non-traditional instruction, because whether you're in the academy or in-person instruction, it's a very structured day. It's 8 to 3:30, and with the AB schedule, the students are getting a chance to go to every class. I think they already alluded to this. The problem with our original mindset was going to one class in the morning for 3 hours, another class in the afternoon for 3 hours. You know, limit your movement. But now, kids are going to be able to get to all their classes in a day, 2 days a week. And NTI, we never saw our students. We went home, we didn't get a chance to see them again. Now we get a chance to see a kid on a Tuesday. And we actually have expectations with work and follow-up on Friday. And that's the monitoring piece that we're going to have back with the AB schedule and in-person instruction, is that monitoring piece that we miss from being with our students throughout the week.
John, I think you'll see more project-based instruction. I think you'll see our teachers be creative and work together to come up with projects that students can do that might not be able to do in the normal schedule. So it could be beneficial in that regard.
The question, not all high school students are independent learners, especially freshmen. We got that probably 3 or 4 times. How do we answer that question, Mr. Sutton?
I think consistency obviously is a concern whenever you're in a new environment, but I know that the relationships that they're going to develop with the students, the teachers, the administrators, the follow-up and follow-through with the Wednesday activities, the Wednesday intervention, I would say we're going to see a lot of freshmen in those Wednesday opportunities. They probably need to be a part of that as much as possible. 3 days a week is going to be more beneficial to them early on in their high school career. So I understand where they're coming from, but it's just really attendance is going to be critical. You know, on the days they are assigned or whatever rotation they're on, be there on the days you're scheduled to be there.
Right, and just know that this is all new to us as well, so we're on a learning curve as well. The question several times is, we will now have a full schedule of classes now, five blocks, and that will continue both at the traditional high schools, at College View, and at EC3. Again, a lot of questions about the Early College and Career Center. Dan, talk about not only EC3 but also ECTC, our partnerships with them, how it affects the academy at EC3 and the Early College Pathway.
Yeah, I'm glad someone has asked that, because we will be sending out some information to all those families and parents. We hope to have a virtual meeting for all of them to explain that process. A student that is in part of our Early College Academy, our high school juniors this year. So your classes are being taught by not only high school dual credit teachers, but also college professors. So those students will attend on the days that they have college classes. So typical college class right now is a Monday, Wednesday, or a Tuesday, Thursday. So those students, you will attend, and you will come to EC3 for those classes. When your classes are over at that time, then your class and your school day will be done. So if you have home high school classes for 4th and 5th period, obviously you will transport back to those high schools and finish out your day at the high school. But our goal, again, is to continue to all the programs that we offer. We're working closely with ECTC Our high school seniors will continue, just as we said last year. You will follow ECTC calendar. Classes start August 17th. And so we will continue with that August 17th start date for all of our students that are in the academy or the early college as a high school junior and senior. So our professors are ready to start online on the 17th. Our high school teachers are ready to start online on the 17th. So we'll start at least for 1 week, and then we'll see them in person come the week of the 24th.
Will there be an open house or orientation for incoming freshmen? Well, I've got all the high school principals here. How are we going to do that, or can we?
At North Hardin, we are planning a virtual open house. That's in the works right now. It's going to look a lot like it did in the spring when we did our online assignments. The menu board where you would look up your 5 teachers and click on the teacher's name, and then there'll be a template with like a welcome message, syllabus, school supplies, classroom codes for Google Classroom, and so forth. It's the best way, we think, right now. Instead of bringing, we're scheduled to have 500 freshmen this year in addition to their parents
All right, Mr.
in the
Wells.
building.
We will do the same thing. We will do it virtually, but what we're going to do too as a staff is the first day that our students are there, especially with our freshman students and new students, we're going to take the time to talk about the building, introduce them to everything and everyone.
Okay, Mr. Isaacs.
We agree. We're working on this very similar format.
Okay, Mr. Robbins.
Yeah, we're planning right now for online, virtual open house as well, and I know that that's a big deal. A lot of people will be their first year coming to EC3, and so they're anxious about that transition. So we're working on all that. In fact, we've already talked about putting into production some videos using our media arts program, where we might even simulate myself being a student and how I would get off the bus and come into the building and find my classroom and so on. So we're going to have a little bit of fun with it, and I hope the students do as well, but we plan to share all that.
Dr. King, anything special at College View in that regard?
No, we're going to take the first couple of days, the students come back and orientate them to the rules and expectations and the layout of the building, just as we've done previous years.
Awesome. Mr. Isaacs, this is for you. Power Hour, it's big at your school. Well, when children are in school or in the building, will Power Hour still exist?
No, it can't exist under its current format.
Okay.
We're basically, I know my students consider Power Hour to be their time, and I appreciate the mentality, because one of the goals was to get them to own their experience and take responsibility for their choices. But the primary aspect of Power Hour is an academic intervention where they have access to every teacher they have when they need individual help. That'll be pushed to the Wednesday date, where whether they're referred on Wednesday or not, they'll have access virtually to their teachers, every single one of them, and they can make sure that if they need some one-on-one time, and even if they don't come in the building, they can schedule maybe a Google Meet with that teacher where they can ask those questions and get that help. The social aspect, unfortunately, that's one of the victims of our current crisis. We can't have large groups of anybody, students or adults, together just congregating. It's the world we're living in. So one of these brilliant young people just needs to finish developing that vaccine, and we'll get back to Power Hour.
Absolutely. Another question we've gotten several times is why Monday, Thursday? Why Tuesday, Friday? Why not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, be off Friday? And I know there's a good reason for that, and anybody can jump in on that.
Well, I just think that they didn't want a child to be 5 days without seeing an adult. I think if they would have did a Monday, Tuesday, and they're off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's 5 days without seeing somebody. I think it goes back to the monitoring, the follow-up, the follow-through, that connection with an adult. I'm here on Monday. Hey, they're actually going to see me on Thursday and ask me how I'm doing, check on my assignment. Maybe I was there on Wednesday for the intervention time, and they asked for a follow-up for that as well. So I'm excited the way they set it up. That was their suggestion, and I think it was well thought out and well student-centered, in my opinion.
We may have already touched on this, going back to special education, but will students who receive special education services be services by their home high school no matter what format they participate in? I assume that means online or the online academy or face-to-face instruction.
There's an opportunity. They may have a teacher from another building. That's just the reality as we look at our numbers. Their case managers will stay at their home school, so that person, that contact that parent and that student knows they have, that will not change. But there is a chance that one student's English, if they've got an English class, that class virtually, if they're in the online academy, Mr. Wright, that class could be taught by a teacher from one of the other 2 high schools. And the reason for that is because we want to make sure they get everything they need, and just number-wise, none of us can afford to have a class with 1 or 2 kids in it in that environment. So we're going to pool our resources and work together for that.
The 2 terms we've been using is case manager, service provider. Your case manager is going to be at your home school that knows the child, and then the service provider is going to get to know that child as they implement the instruction as they share as needed.
Okay, if COVID numbers improve, will we go back to in-person 5 days a week schedule? I don't know, maybe a Mrs. Morgan question, but if our numbers improve, I guess what will be the litmus test on that?
Our plan is to carry this out until the end of the first trimester. That is simply for the planning. However, I can assure you at the first opportunity we have to get back to a normal schedule, we know that is what's best for our students. So we will certainly do that, and that includes our elementary and middle schools, all the different things we're doing. But that is certainly what we are hoping for.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Morgan. What about clubs, extracurriculars, things like that in the AB schedule?
Well, actually, I mean, there's not going to be opportunities for, assemblies, pep rallies, things of that nature, no large groups assembling together. That may force some of our clubs to just be put on hold for a little while until things calm down. Obviously, that sports, clubs, activities, that's something that kids really look forward to, and we're looking forward to getting back to that as well. And we'll just have to wait to see where things go. But right now, no large group gatherings.
I'll say this, Mr. Wright. I mean, obviously, as part of our career tech, our CTSOs, career tech student organizations, your FFA, your HOSA, FBLA, DECA, and so on, they're continuing to look for ways that those students can meet, and maybe it's virtually, things like that. We know we still have officers. Our district, we're so proud of even regional officers that we have, and so they're continuing to work. That is a major component of our career tech ed program, and so we are looking to find ways that they can still meet and be productive in the organizations and things that they do.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think KMEA has decided they're not doing any championships. Bands of America has canceled their championships. There is, from what I understand, possibility that some small competitions, for example, on band will try to take place, but I think most of our local people are starting to understand that this may be an opportunity this year to focus on musicality and improving individuals, that we'll have to do things in small groups and get creative. I agree. Our FFA is meeting this week to work on a parliamentary procedure team that is still in competition as those national groups are adjusting what they do. So the opportunities, we're going to do what we can within the parameters we're given.
That is a question we've gotten a couple of times, is about bands specifically, or chorus. Will this change what they do on an academic basis? I mean, if it's still on my schedule, my 5-block schedule, then I will still go to band or chorus class. But it may change some of the extracurricular stuff, things that go along with that. Fair statement?
Are you talking in person?
Yes.
In person, yes.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
That's a valid point.
Virtual, we're looking at choir and band. And I know each school is different with the staff that they have in band. And we're going to try to work to see what we can do, but that's still being ironed out.
Athletics, KHSAA will make that decision. That's right, and we will abide by KHSAA guidelines. So there's not a whole lot of say that we have on a local level on if athletics are, we don't have any say if athletics are a go or no go. Can you talk a little bit about what the online academy and its rigor, things like that?
Sure. With the high school, as I tried to explain a little bit earlier, it's hard to explain and understand just by hearing it the first time, but when we determined there was about 800 students that wanted to do the online academy at the high school level, we immediately started to think about pulling teachers out of the schools to take on the academy. But once we started doing that, there was really no way to meet the course needs of every child. And so we're basically putting the academies back into the home schools, and they'll be assigning these students a schedule within their home schools. And some teachers will be doing more of a hybrid teaching model where they actually teach some in-person classes and some online virtual classes. And with that, that means that the students will be expected to be working at 8 o'clock in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon, just like they would if they were sitting in the school building. So it's not going to be an NTI situation where you may wake up at noon and be doing classwork at 10 o'clock at night. That's not going to be the case, unless you're just doing independent practice. The actual schedule is 8 to 3:30.
Will, and this question just came in, will an online device be needed when my student is not in school? In other words, if I'm on a Monday, Thursday schedule, will I need a device to help me on Tuesdays and Fridays?
We'll work with those students individually and help with those situations.
All right. And really, ladies and gentlemen, that's really all the questions that we've received in our online forms. Does anybody have anything else that maybe we didn't talk about, or some maybe things that
Do we need to clarify, excuse me, that our online students, they will not be alternating their days because of the nature of the instruction? They'll be in class during those set times, a minimum of 4 days a week. The fifth day, that Wednesday, could possibly be a check-in time, intervention time for them, but they'll be expected Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at a minimum to be online during their given times. And please correct me if anybody disagrees, but while they'll still be getting face-to-face instruction, because I can't sometimes physically see that student, it's going to be more difficult for me to gauge that student's engagement, and so the instruction is a step removed, and that's just the reality. So they must be online those days, and I think one of the biggest push for this AB is we believe a student in a seat in our high schools is their best opportunity for success.
One of you all just talk about how this is student-centered, it's for student growth, and how students played such a big role in our decision to do this.
Well, I think we offer more opportunities here in Hardin County Schools than just about anybody in the state of Kentucky. So with this schedule, we're able to meet the needs of every student, whether they chose online or the AB schedule, and that's a credit to them, and they're working together to make that happen.
Absolutely.
High school's different. High school's different. There's so many opportunities. What'd you say, 211 classes last night you presented to the board? Different opportunities for students to select. So I think it's important that people understand we're giving students every chance to continue those opportunities they would on a normal basis.
We do certainly plan to communicate with our families. That would be through one call, email, snail mail, Infinite Campus Messenger, but we will be communicating once the entire plan comes into place.
Okay, Mrs. Morgan, wrap us up.
I just want, for the parents listening today, we are asking for your patience. The board approved a later start date of August 24th. The purpose of that start date was to wait and see, after people came back from vacations, the fallout from that. We want the time to look at the most current situation. So I do ask for your patience. If you have signed your child up to come to in-person instruction, I encourage you to wait for at least the 2 weeks to see what the outcome of that is. We are taking extra precautions to make sure of that. Our plans depend on the students that we have in the school. We know that our students will benefit greatly from being in the classroom safely and in front of that classroom teacher. So I appreciate all the work. I know people may not understand all the different components that we have happening, but we are making sure to take each of those under advisement and consideration to make sure we are doing the very best interest for our students. So again, we ask that you give us the opportunity for the 2 weeks to see the fallout and let us prepare accordingly. And that goes for our elementary, it goes for our middle, as well as our high schools.
Thank you all for watching.